Okay, good day everyone. And now let's proceed to the discussions or an overview of the communicable diseases because communicable diseases are illness caused by the infections, agents such as bacteria, virus, fungi, or parasites that can be spread directly or indirectly from one person to another. So these diseases are also sometimes referred to as an infectious diseases or transmissible diseases. Okay, so infectious diseases can cause death when they are overwhelm the body's immune system or lead to severe complications. So some diseases are particularly dangerous because of their high mortality rates, their ability to cause the widespread outbreaks, or the absence of effective treatments. So let's have some overview of this, the infectious diseases as a cause by a death, because these infectious diseases, if not treated properly or prevented, can lead to serious complications and death. So public health measures such as vaccination, sanitation, safe drinking water, and early treatment are essential to reduce the mortality associated with these diseases. Kung makikita nyo po on your screen that infectious diseases as account for more than half of all the deaths in children under the age of 5, and also top 10 causes of death compiled by the World Health Organizations, and 5 are due to infectious diseases, and these are the top single agent killer, which is the HIV and AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. And the other top killers are respiratory or the lower respiratory infections and diarrheal diseases, which are caused by the variety of agents. So this is the infectious disease throughout the history. As you can see on your screen, infectious agents have probably always caused by the disease in the humans. And there is an evidence that malaria and poliomyelitis have existed since the ancient times. And in the 14th century, the bubonic plague or the Black Death killed about 20 million people in Europe alone. And there are in 1918, influenza may have killed up to 50 million worldwide, and close to 20 million people have died with AIDS to date. So yan po yung history natin in terms the infectious diseases. Now, let's focus on the host and microbial infections because these refer to the complex relationship between a human and the microorganism, which are the bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites that inhabit, infect, or coexist with the host. So these interactions can be beneficial, neutral, or harmful depending on the nature of microorganisms and the host responses. Okay, there are factors in the disease development or yung tinatawag po nating chain of infections. The infection is the model used to understand the components that is involved in the transmissions of an infectious disease. So each link in the chains represent a factors required for the spread of infections, and breaking any link can stop the spread of the diseases. Yan. So you must be familiarized with this chain of infections, and we will discuss one by one of this chain of infections that link together, as I've said earlier. So first one in the chain of infections, the chains begin with the existing or the specific pathogenic microorganisms. So the source of infections or the pathogen is a microorganism that cause the diseases. So yung pathogens natin include po dito yung bacteria, example po yung Staphylococcus aureus or yung E. coli na very popular. We have the viruses, example is the influenza virus and HIV. Fungi, example is the Candida albicans, okay? And then we have the parasite, which is Plasmodium species causing the malaria or Gardia lamblia. And then we have the prions, or example here, the agents responsible for the Jacob disease. So these pathogens have varying levels of virulence, which determines their ability to the disease or the ability to cause the disease. So the second link is the reservoir, which is an environment where the pathogen can survive. So ito yung habitat where the pathogen lives, grows, and multiples. So the reservoir can be human. So pwede po yung infected individuals or carriers can be a reservoir without showing a symptoms. For example here, a person with is having influenza or someone who carries Neisseria meningitis in the throat without being sick. So pwede rin po yan yung animals. Animal can harbor the pathogens and transmit them to the humans or zoonosis. Example dito kasi yung bats are the reservoir for the rabies viruses. And then we have another reservoir here is the environmental sources. Pathogens can survive into the soil, water, or other parts of the environment. Example here is the Clostridium tetani or yung tetanus in the soil. Next one, we have the third link is the means of escape from the reservoir. And then we have the fourth link is the mode of transmission from the reservoir to the host. The mode of transmissions describe how the pathogen is transferred from the reservoir to the responsible or to the susceptible host. So mode of transmissions, it can be direct transmissions. Pwede po yung person to person. Pathogens are transmitted through direct contact between the individuals. So example here, we have the touching, kissing, or sexual contact such as with sexually transmitted infections like syphilis or herpes. Pwede rin po yung droplet transmission natin. So yung droplet transmission natin, pathogens are spread by the large respiratory droplets that can travel short distance, usually less than 6 feet po yan. So example here is coughing or sneezing or spreads pathogen like the common colds or flu. Next, we have the indirect transmission. So the indirect transmissions like here is the airborne transmissions. So yung pathogens natin are carried in small particles or droplets that remain suspended in the air and travel long distance. So example here is the Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Next, we have the vehicle-borne. So this is contaminated inanimate objects, which is example is which is fomites such as food, water, utensils, or medical equipment transmit the pathogens. Example, food contaminated with E. coli can lead to the foodborne illness. Okay, meron din tayong vector-borne. Yung animals, particularly the insect like the mosquito or ticks, carry and transmit the pathogens. Ang halimbawa po nito, yung Plasmodium natin, which is the malaria, transmitted by the mosquito. Okay? Next, we have the fifth link, the means of entry into the host. Okay, and then the last link is the host susceptibility to the pathogenic microorganism. So the susceptible host is the individual at risk becoming infected. So several factors determines the susceptibility. Pwede po yung immune status kasi immunocompromised individuals, example those person with HIV or AIDS undergoing therapy, are more susceptible to infections. Ano pa? Factors, we have the age. The very young and the elderly often have the weaker immune system. Yung chronic illnesses natin, condition like diabetes, heart disease, and lung disease can increase susceptibility. And then we have the nutritional status. Malnutrition can weaken also our immune defenses. Genetic factors. Some individuals are genetically more susceptible to the certain infections. And then we have the lifestyle and behavior. So risky behavior such as smoking, poor hygiene, or unsafe sexual practices increase the susceptibility. Okay, so how to break the chain of infections? To prevent the spread of infectious diseases, it is essential to break one or more links in the chain. So pwede po yung vaccination because it increases the immunity and reduces the pool of susceptible hosts. Pwede rin po yan yung hand hygiene. So stop transmission by preventing pathogens from transferring to other hosts or objects. It can be seafood handling. So to prevent contamination of food and stop vehicle-borne transmission. And then use PPE or yung ating pinatawag na personal protective equipment. So protect healthcare workers and others from direct or droplet transmissions. And we have the antibiotic use. So effective treatment reduce the pathogen loads, and limits the reservoir of infection. So understanding that change of infection provide a framework for designing the public health interventions and aim at preventing infectious diseases outbreaks. So dito, as you can see on the screen, that is in the breaking the chains of infections, it involves all the health professionals. Okay, so there are lots of to break the chain of infections, as you can see on the screens. Next one, we have the infection control. So this is the first line of our defense. So sinabi ko na kanina, it is important the hand hygiene. First line of defense and the most important practice in the preventing the infections. Ito po yung sinasabi natin, hand washing or hand hygiene. And then we have the microbes against the humans. Okay, so kung makikita natin yan, they are the definitions as you can see on the screen. So microbes including the bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites can act against the human in various ways. So that is leading to infections disease when these microorganisms invade the human body. So they can disrupt the normal physiological functions, causes the inflammations, and even trigger the life-threatening conditions. So we all know that symptoms, that is an evidence of disease that is experienced for perceived, which is subjective. So subjective changes in the body functions noted by the patients, but not apparent to an observer. And that's the sign that is objective, that is evidence of the disease, the physician can observe and measure. And lastly, we have the syndrome. So yan po yung specific group of signs and symptoms that accompany a particular disease. So incidence, that is the number of people in population who develop the disease during a particular time of periods. And then we have the prevalence, the number of people in a population who develop a disease regardless when it is appeared, and refers to both old and new cases. Okay, so punta naman tayo sa classifications of infectious disease. So based on the behavior within the host, meron tayong communicable disease. So that is any diseases that is spread from one host to another, either directly or indirectly. And then we have the contagious disease, that is disease that easily spread from one person to. Okay, let's proceed on the base of occurrence of the disease. So we have here the sporadic disease. So that is disease occurs only occasionally. So sporadic diseases occurs infrequently and irregularly in the population. So these are the isolated cases or outbreaks that appears randomly or unpredictably without any predictable pattern. So paano natin makikita yan? That is occurs in scattered or singular cases or small cluster, not constantly present in a populations, and the cause is often external to the population, such as traveler bringing into the disease or localized environmental factors. So example here, we have the botulisms and we have the tetanus. And then we have the endemic disease. So sa endemic disease naman natin, that is constantly present in a particular geographic area or population. So these diseases maintain a relatively stable incidence rate over time. So characteristic, this is continually present in a specific populations or regions, typically occurs at a predictable rate, does not cause widespread outbreak, but certain conditions. So example here, we have the environmental or socioeconomic changes can cause into the increase in the cases. So example here, we have the pulmonary tuberculosis. Okay, we have the epidemic disease. Sa epidemic disease naman natin, that is refers to a sudden increase in the number of cases of the disease beyond what is normally expected in a specific geographic area or population. So that is affect more people than usual in a given region or community, can be localized or spread across larger areas within a country or region. So the disease may be contagious. Example is the influenza, or non-contagious example is obesity-related heart disease, can reach to epidemic level. So typically involves infectious agents, but environmental or lifestyle factor can lead to epidemic. Next, we have the pandemic disease. Into the pandemic disease, that is an epidemic that is spread over multiple countries or continents, so affecting a large number of people worldwide. So it involves a new infectious agent or a new strain of a pathogen to which most people have little or no immunity. So that is affect global populations, not limited to one country or region. So typically causes widespread illness and significant societal disruptions, and often requires international response and coordinations to manage. So pandemics can have multiple waves where new surge of cases occurs after the initial control. So example here, we have the HIV infections. Next, we have the based on the severity or durations of the disease. So acute disease is a condition that is a rapid onset and typically in a short duration. So it may resolve quickly either by complete recovery or by the progressing to more severe forms, but it generally lasts for days to a few weeks. So usually, symptoms appear suddenly or over a short period of time. And then the disease lasts for a limited time, usually days to a few weeks. And then symptoms can range from mild to severe, but the disease course is relatively brief compared to the chronic conditions. And many acute diseases resolve with proper treatment or care, through some can lead to complications or death. So example, in the acute disease, we have the measles, mumps, and influenza. Next, we have the chronic disease. So chronic disease are long-lasting conditions that progress slowly and persist over a long period. So open for a month, years, or even a lifetime. So develops gradually over time or open worsening pa siya. Lasts for a time, typically longer than 6 months and in many cases, throughout a person's life. And then often requires ongoing medical care and lifestyle adjustment to manage the symptom and prevent the complications. Okay, so that is for chronic diseases. Example here, we have the tuberculosis and leprosy. Next, we have the subacute disease that is falls between an acute and chronic disease in terms of durations and severity. So it involves less rapidly than an acute conditions, but lasts longer than it opened without the reaching the chronic stages. So ito naman usually lasts longer than an acute disease, but is not as prolonged as chronic ones. And then symptoms are often less severe than acute disease, but they may persist a few weeks to months. And then we have the latent example ang subacute natin disease mga is bacterial endocarditis. And then we have the latent disease are characterized by the absence of symptoms after the initial infections, with the pathogen remaining in our body in an inactive state. So this disease can reactive under the certain condition often years after the initial infection. So usually, after an initial infection, the disease-causing pathogen remains in the body but does not cause symptoms for an extended period. The disease can become active again when triggered by the factors like stress, immunosuppressions, or aging. So example mga ng chickenpox going to the shingles or the zoster. Next, we have proceed to the stages of the diseases. Okay, start with the incubation period. So it's the time between the exposure to the pathogen and the onset of the symptoms. So during this phase, the pathogen is multiplying into the body, but there are no visible signs and symptoms. So usually there is no symptoms. The infected person feels well and show no outward signs of illness. The length of the incubation period varies depending on the type of pathogen and the individual's immune system. It can range from a few hours to several months. So in some cases, individual can still spread the infections to others during the incubation period even without the symptoms. Okay? So usually that is first appearance of any signs and symptoms sa ating incubation period. And then yan. Next, we have the prodromal periods. Prodromal period is the stage of the following incubation period where the first mild symptoms appear. So these symptoms are often vague or non-specific such as fatigue or generally feeling of discomfort or yung ating malaise. So usually yung symptoms niya are mild and non-specific, often making it hard to identify the specific illness. This stage serves as the warning that illness is developing. The duration of the prodromal period can vary depending on the disease and the individual factors. Okay? Next, we have the period of illness. It's when the disease symptoms are most severe and the infection is fully manifesting in the body. So this is the peak of stage of illness where the individual feels the full impact of the disease. So usually symptoms are their most intense and the specific signs of the disease are clear. Example, it can be high fever, cough, or rash. And then the immune system is actively fighting of the infections, and this stage typically involves the higher risk of complications. And individuals are often most contagious during this period, especially in the disease spread by the direct contact or respiratory droplets. Next, we have the period of decline. It's the stage of the following peak of the illness when the symptoms of the disease begin to decrease. So during this time, the individual start to recover from the infection. So symptoms become less severe and the individuals begins to feel better as the body immune response effectively combats the pathogen. Although symptoms are declining, there are many still be a risk of complication or secondary infections during this period. So recovery phase, this stage can last from days to weeks depending on the illness and the individual's overall health. Next, we have the period of convalescence. So that is the final stage after the recovery, after the period of decline. So it involves the gradual return to health and normal functioning following an illness. So the body repairs itself and energy levels gradually return to the normal. So there is a full recovery, may take time depending on the severity of the illness. And then individuals often begin to resume their daily activities, but some fatigue or weakness may be persist. And some diseases may require ongoing monitoring or rehabilitations to ensure the complete recovery and prevent from the relapse. Okay, punta naman tayo sa reservoir of infection. So pag sinabi natin yan, that is any site where the pathogens can multiply or merely survive until it is transferred to the host. So meron tayong human reservoir, as I've said earlier, that is the principal living reservoir of the human diseases. And there is a direct transmissions that is associated usually with the signs, symptoms, and the carriers that is harbor the pathogen without the associated signs and symptoms. We have the innate or non-living reservoir, yung tinatawag po natin from the air, soil, food, milk, water, or fomites. And yung fomites natin, that is articles that are easily contaminated by our pathogen from the respiratory, intestinal tract, and skin. And we have the air, that is droplets of respiratory tract secretions, dust, and particles. Next, punta naman tayo sa mode of transmissions. That is the process of the infectious agent moving from the reservoir to the susceptible host. So, yon. So, there is a contact transmissions that is the most important and frequent mode of transmissions natin. Okay. So, we have the direct and indirect transmissions. I've explained earlier. Kapag direct contact transmissions, person to person. Pag sinabi natin indirect contact, that is reservoir to susceptible host. Okay. Next, we have the airborne transmissions. That is a mode of disease transmission where the pathogens are spread through the air by the droplets or particles that can remain suspended in the air or extended for the extended period. So usually the droplet nuclei travel only short distance, 1 meter, through coughing, sneezing, or lapping or talking. And then we have the vehicle transmissions. So that is also known as indirect transmission. So that is a mode of disease transmissions where the pathogens are transferred to the susceptible host via intermediate object or material often referred to as a vehicle. So this type of transmissions can involve the various substances including the food, water, and inanimate object. And meron din tayong tinatawag na vector-borne, that is occurs when an agent is transferred to a host by animate and other animals. Na-explain naman na natin kanina sa unang part. And then we have the susceptible host. Yan, makikita naman natin. Okay, so susceptible host is an individual who is at risk of becoming infected by a pathogen due to the various factors that compromise their immune system or overall health. So understanding the characteristic of susceptible host is a crucial in infection control and prevention strategies. So ito lang naman po is usually, sabi ko nga, that is a risk for our patient, especially those who have immunocompromised, DM, surgery, burns, and elderly. So that is for our susceptible